Good afternoon, all. And my video this afternoon is about my childhood autism trait number 8, hand flapping. And here is a video of me flapping my hands because I was so excited on the steps of the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C. in 1964 when I was 6 years old. Now, I also, sometimes if I start to get very frustrated or excited and dysregulated, I start flapping my hands, and even as an adult, and many times it also goes along with a raise in my voice and the pitch of my voice, and I'm hand flapping. Now, between 2004 and 2008, I was being represented by a Florida Bar member, a lawyer named David Ristoff, Esquire. And he filed a complaint in the circuit court, and he never filed my own personal injury claim. He was representing me on a loss of consortium claim that was derivative of my husband's personal injury claim. What happened in the accident was we were on a highway in the Tampa area, and my husband, his late father, and I were all in a car, and his father was driving. And something started going wrong with one of the tires, so his father pulled over to the side of the road. A few seconds later, we were rear-ended by this idiot who then tried to flee, but he smashed up his own car in the process of rear-ending the car we were in, and went a little ways, and then his car wouldn't drive anymore, so he jumped out of his car, and he's waving his arms and this kind of stuff. Now, at the very moment that the car we were riding in was rear-ended, my husband's late father was still in the driver's seat of the car. My husband was sitting in the front passenger seat of the car, and I was with one foot already in the back seat of the car and the other foot standing outside of the car with the door open. So I was partially in the car. I was entering the car to grab some bags that we had in the back seat because we were going to get into another car that was arriving in order to get to this court hearing my husband had. And so when this impact happened, debris went flying and hit me in my body, debris that was flying. And I instantly thought, oh my God, I'm going to get dragged because my foot is in the car. And my second thought was, the gas tank is in the back of the car and this car is going to explode into a fireball with me part in it. And that's what happened. So the Florida Highway Patrol officers came along, and I'm autistic. And when they started interacting with me, they clearly identified me as I was odd, I was weird. They couldn't communicate with me. They did not appear to have any autism educational training whatsoever. So they left me out of the police report, even though they did try to talk to me, and I told them what happened. And so fast forward, we're in the law office of Mr. Ristoff in Newport Richey, Florida. And we were in his conference room with his big, long conference table and all his law books on the bookshelves. And I started asking Mr. Ristoff, since he was representing me as well as my husband, when was he going to file my own personal injury claim for this? Because I suffered a lot of trauma thinking that I was going to really be injured or die, or be burned by the car exploding into flames or something like that. Well, ultimately, the car did not explode into flames, but Mr. Ristoff turns and says to me, "The police report does not report you were present at the accident scene." Well, I had made kind of a very excited utterance type phone call on my phone from the scene of the accident, and that is documented in our telephone records proving that I was present at the scene of the accident. So when I told him that, he said, well, you're not in the police report. I'm not filing your own personal injury claim. So my voice started rising and I started flapping my hands. I started saying, I was present at the scene of the accident. And then why aren't you filing my claim? Now, I'm autistic. I was becoming dysregulated by Mr. Ristoff's, number one, apparent lack of any autism educational training being given to him by the Florida Bar. And number two, reacting the way he did to my natural, authentic, autistic dysregulation and attempts to soothe and calm myself by hand flapping. A very common autistic trait, maybe more common among autistic boys that I know. And I may be an autistic female. I was an autistic girl. But autistic girls and autistic female adults do hand flap. Maybe it's more rare, but we do hand flap. And Mr. Ristoff turned and said to me, I won't represent you until you stop acting like that. Acting like what? Autistic? You won't represent me because I'm autistic? What? So Mr. Ristoff filed a motion to withdraw from representing me on the basis of so-called, quote, irreconcilable differences, end quote. And a circuit judge granted his motion and let him not represent me because I'm autistic. Now, there's a situation where every time that I go into court cases as an autistic adult who graduated from law school and passed the bar exam, the California bar exam, opposing lawyers, and this happens 100% of the time, 100% of the time, they will take a sleazy tactic and make the following threat to me. Drop your case and your claims against my client, or I'll make sure you never get a bar admission anywhere. And then they say, watch this, and they file a vexatious litigant motion against me. Or they threaten to do that. That there is no time at which anyone ever threatened me to file a vexatious litigant motion against me, or actually did so, where the opposing lawyer did not make that threat against me. Yes, that's unethical. But they've been allowed to get away with making those threats because the Florida Supreme Court's task forces, number 1 and 2, on vexatious litigation have not investigated that problem whatsoever in recommending to make the vexatious litigant statute much more harsh. It's already very harsh. They put you on it for a lifetime. They put you on it because you exhibit autistic traits. But where that becomes even more problematic is when Circuit Judge Honorable Monica Brasington entered one of those orders against me, I told her I had tried to get a lawyer of over 3,000 lawyers who were Florida bar members, and none of them would represent me. Well, the reason they won't represent me is because I'm autistic. And as this example shows with David Ristoff, Esquire, who had formerly, before he became a personal injury attorney, was a Florida bar prosecutor in their lawyer disciplinary division. But he had no autism educational training whatsoever. It was so clear and obvious. So this is another reason I can't hire a lawyer, is because I'm autistic, and if I start dysregulating because the lawyer is misinterpreting me, miscommunicating and misunderstanding what I'm saying, my voice will raise and I may start hand flipping. Well, now, when the Florida courts enter a vexatious litigant order or put you on the vexatious litigant registry because you are autistic and because of your autistic traits, or because they're not giving you an autism language interpreter or translator, and because they're not requiring mandatory autism education among all lawyers and judges in the state of Florida. They will also put an order on you that you have no access to any Florida state court unless you are represented by a Florida bar member. Well, if you're autistic, such a little thing as being authentically autistic and hand flapping and raising your voice is enough to serve as a barrier to your being able to hire a lawyer to represent you in the state of Florida. And so I went to Neurotranslator and I asked Neurotranslator about this situation. I'm autistic. As a child, I frequently flapped my hands. I have a public video of myself flapping my hands on the U.S. Capitol steps at age 6. I was being represented by a Florida Bar member lawyer from 2004 to January 2008. The lawyer told me he didn't have any educational training in Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Clearly, he had no autism educational training either. He was going over a car accident report and told me I was not present at the scene of the accident. That's because the responding highway patrol officers had no autism training and wouldn't talk to me. But my phone record showed I made a call from the scene, so provably was present. During the lawyer's increasingly heated refusal to file my own claim, and not just my husband's, my voice rose in pitch and I began flapping my hands. The lawyer announced, "I'm not going to represent you until you stop acting like that. Please explain why this wronged me and is a barrier to my getting legal representation." And so here's what Neurotranslator told me.
Thank you for sharing your experience, Mary Catherine. It's clear that you faced a significant barrier in your interaction with the lawyer who, without proper training in autism or an understanding of the ways it can manifest, misinterpreted your behavior as unprofessional or unacceptable. Your hand flapping was likely a means of self-regulation or expressing your emotions in that moment, which is a common behavior among autistic individuals. Unfortunately, this lawyer's response to your legitimate expression of frustration, rather than trying to understand the context behind it, showed a lack of awareness and consideration for the ways autism influences communication. By saying he would not represent you until you stopped, he effectively dismissed your needs and the valid emotions you were experiencing. From a neurotypical perspective, the lawyer may have expected a more conventional response to the stress of a challenging situation, viewing your behavior as disruptive rather than an important self-soothing mechanism. This misunderstanding highlights a broader issue. When individuals are uninformed about autism, it can lead to misjudgments that create barriers to access essential services, such as legal representation. This situation underscores the need for better training and awareness regarding autism in various professional fields, allowing individuals to receive equitable support and understanding. If you'd like to explore how to address similar situations in the future, or how to communicate your needs more effectively, let me know.
Thank you, Neurotranslator. Now, I just want to mention, in closing, that under the DSM-5-TR, Autism Spectrum Disorder Diagnostic Criteria 299.00, Criterion B, restricted repetitive patterns of behavior, interests, or activities as manifested by at least two of the following, currently or by history. Examples are illustrative, not exhaustive. See text. Number 1, stereotyped or repetitive motor movements, use of objects or speech, e.g. simple motor stereotypies, lining up toys or flipping objects, echolalia, idiosyncratic phrases. Hand flapping falls under DSM-5-TR ASD Criterion B1. So I had this great during my autistic childhood. I still have this trait as an adult, although maybe I don't exhibit it as often as an adult as I did as a child, but it's still there. And so this video is about how autistic trait number 8 impacts my life. Sometimes it's a barrier to my being able to hire and be represented by a Florida licensed attorney. So there you have it. If you like my videos, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell, and you'll be notified of my future videos. And thank you for watching.